The Banco Central Heist, Brasil 2005. 70 million August 2005, Fortaleza, Brazil. In what would become one of history's most audacious heists, a group of thieves pulled off something straight out of a Hollywood movie. But this was no fiction. This was the Banco Central Heist. For 3 months, these cunning criminals rented a house near the bank and posed as a legitimate business selling artificial grass. But what they were really doing was digging day and night, creating a sophisticated tunnel that stretched 256 feet underground, right beneath the bank's vault. The tunnel wasn't just any hole in the ground. We're talking about a fully engineered passage with wooden supports, lights, and even an air conditioning system. These guys weren't amateurs, they were masterminds. Then came the weekend of the heist. While the city slept, they broke through the vault's reinforced concrete floor, completely bypassing the bank's state-of-the-art security systems and armed guards. When the dust settled, they had stolen more than 5 tons of uninsured cash, about $70 million. Here's the kicker. To this day, most of that money has never been found. While some suspects were arrested, the majority of the thieves and their massive haul simply vanished into thin air, leaving behind one of banking history's greatest mysteries. 2. The Securitas Depot Robbery, UK 2006, 83 million, it's February 2006 in Kent, England. The Securitas Depot, a fortress-like building, holds millions in cash. But what happened next would shock the nation and become Britain's largest cash heist ever. The masterminds behind this robbery didn't just rely on brute force. They crafted an elaborate plan that seemed straight out of a Hollywood movie. Disguised as police officers, they made their way to the home of Colin Dixon, the depot's manager. But this wasn't a simple confrontation. They took his family hostage, using them as leverage to force his cooperation. The psychological warfare was just the beginning. With Dixon under their control and his family's lives at stake, the robbers executed their plan with military precision. They had clearly done their homework. Their insider knowledge of the depot's operations was uncanny. In just a few hours, they walked away with $53 million. That's about $83 million. While police later managed to catch some of the culprits, here's the kicker. To this day, tens of millions of pounds remain unaccounted for, vanished into thin air, leaving investigators scratching their heads and wondering where all that money could be. 3. The Dunbar Armored Robbery, USA 1997, 18.9 million picture. This October 1997, a quiet night at Dunbar Armored in Los Angeles. The facility's vault supervisor is working his regular shift, but something's different tonight. This isn't just another day at work. It's the culmination of months of meticulous planning. Together with 5 of his trusted friends, he's about to pull off what would become one of America's most successful heists. The group knew every detail, every security protocol, every blind spot. After all, who better to plan a robbery than someone who knows the system inside out? In a matter of minutes, they managed to grab nearly 19 million in cash. No guns blazing, no dramatic showdowns, just clean, calculated execution. The most brilliant part? They left barely a trace behind. To this day, most of that money remains unaccounted for, vanished into thin air like a magic trick. While some of the perpetrators were eventually caught, they took their secret to prison, the location of millions of dollars still hidden somewhere waiting to be found. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest threats aren't from outside, but from those we trust the most.
4. The United California Bank Robbery, USA 1972, 30 million picture this. It's 1972, and a group of masterminds is about to pull off one of the most daring heists in American history. The target? United California Bank in Laguna Niguel. These weren't your average thieves. We're talking about professionals who knew exactly what they were doing. On that fateful weekend, while most people were going about their normal lives, these burglars were executing their carefully crafted plan. Using sophisticated explosives, they blasted their way into the vault and methodically raided hundreds of safety deposit boxes. When the dust settled, they had made off with an astounding $30 million in cash and valuables. That's over $200 million in today's money. The FBI jumped into action, and while they eventually cracked the case, here's the kicker. Most of the money simply vanished into thin air. To this day, a large portion of the stolen loot remains unaccounted for, making this heist not just one of the biggest, but also one of the most mysterious bank robberies in U.S. history. Some say the money is still out there somewhere waiting to be found.
Fight the Brinks-MAT robbery, UK 1983, 39 million London. 1983. A group of thieves break into the Brinks-MAT warehouse near Heathrow Airport, expecting to find a couple million in cash. But what they discovered changed everything. A glittering mountain of gold bars worth $39 million. These weren't just any gold bars. We're talking about 6,800 of them. 3 tons of pure precious metal just sitting there like a dragon's treasure. Talk about hitting the criminal jackpot. But here's where it gets really interesting. The robbers had a serious problem on their hands. How do you sell 3 tons of stolen gold without getting caught? You can't exactly walk into a pawn shop with that kind of loot. What followed became one of the most elaborate money laundering schemes in history. The gold was melted down, mixed with other metals, and sold back into the legitimate gold market. In fact, it's believed that if you're wearing gold jewelry bought in the UK after 1983, there's a chance it contains some of that stolen Brinks-MAT gold. To this day, most of that gold has never been recovered. It's out there somewhere, transformed and scattered across thousands of pieces of jewelry. Its criminal origins hidden beneath a shiny, legitimate surface. Now that's what you call the ultimate golden heist. 6. The Antwerp Diamond Heist, Belgium 2003. $100 million was in the glittering world of diamonds. One heist stands out like a perfectly cut gem. The 2003 Antwerp Diamond Heist. Picture this, the most secure diamond vault in Belgium, supposedly impenetrable, with layers of security that would make Fort Knox jealous. But on one fateful weekend in February, a group of masterminds did the impossible. Led by the brilliant but notorious Leonardo Notarbartolo, they managed to bypass 10 layers of security, including infrared heat detectors, Doppler radar, magnetic fields, and a lock with over 100 million possible combinations. The thieves walked away with more than $100 million in diamonds, gold, and other precious stones from over 100 safety deposit boxes. The truly mind-blowing part? They did it without firing a single shot or raising any alarms. Though Notarbartolo was eventually caught, thanks to some discarded evidence, the diamonds, those sparkling prizes, were never seen again. They vanished into thin air, like morning dew under the sun. To this day, it's known as the heist of the century, a reminder that sometimes reality is more incredible than any Hollywood script could ever be.
Enjoying the video, correct? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Please leave your feedback, hit like, share the content.
7. The British Bank of the Middle East heist, Beirut, Lebanon, 1976. A city torn apart by civil war, where the sounds of gunfire and explosions had become as common as car horns. But amid this chaos, one group had their eyes set on an extraordinary prize, the British Bank of the Middle East. On a fateful day, while most residents were seeking shelter from the violence, a highly organized group linked to the Palestine Liberation Organization made their bold move. These weren't your typical bank robbers. They were professionals who knew exactly what they were doing. Using explosives with surgical precision, they blasted their way through the wall of a Catholic church next door. But that was just the beginning. They then methodically worked their way through to the bank's vault, demonstrating an expertise that would make Hollywood heist movies pale in comparison. Inside that vault lay an absolute fortune. Gleaming gold bars, precious jewels that could make royalty jealous, and stacks of various currencies. The total haul? Somewhere between $20 and $50 million, and that's in 1976 money. The most fascinating part? To this day, not a single trace of this treasure has ever been found. It simply vanished into the fog of war, becoming one of banking history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Some say the loot is still hidden somewhere in the Middle East, waiting to be discovered. The Knightsbridge security deposit. Picture this, London, 1987. The Knightsbridge security deposit, one of the most prestigious safe deposit facilities in Britain, stood as a symbol of absolute security. But what happened there would shock the world and go down as one of history's most audacious heists. Enter Valerio Vice, a charismatic Italian criminal mastermind. He wasn't wielding high-tech gadgets or complex plans, no, his weapon of choice? Simple charm. Walking in dressed in an expensive suit, he played the part of a wealthy customer perfectly. But this wasn't just another day at the bank. Once inside, Vice's true colors emerged. In a heart-stopping moment, he and his accomplices overpowered the staff, gaining access to the vault. What followed was a methodical raid that would net them an astounding $97 million in cash and valuables. The most fascinating part? Viche managed to flee the country, leaving authorities empty-handed. To this day, decades later, most of that fortune remains a mystery. Somewhere out there, millions in stolen cash still lies hidden, its secrets locked away just as securely as they once were in those Knightsbridge vaults. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest threats don't come from sophisticated technology, but from old-fashioned deception and daring. 9. The Hatton Garden Heist, UK 2015. 20 million plus. Picture this, Easter weekend 2015, in London's famous jewelry district. A group of elderly criminals, their average age pushing 70, pulled off one of the most audacious heists in British history. These weren't your typical burglars. They were seasoned pros with decades of experience. Over the holiday weekend, while the streets were quiet, they methodically drilled through a thick concrete wall into the Hatton Garden safe deposit vault. Using industrial power tools and their extensive knowledge of alarm systems, these gray-haired masterminds made off with over $20 million in precious gems, gold, and cash. But here's the kicker. While the police eventually caught up with these retirement-age robbers, they never found all the loot. To this day, millions in stolen valuables remain hidden somewhere, their location known only to the tight-lipped gang members. It's like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. Except these weren't actors, just a group of elderly criminals, proving that age is just a number when it comes to pulling off the perfect heist. 10. The Loomis Fargo Robbery, USA 1997, 17.3 million picture. It's 1997 in Charlotte, North Carolina. David Gant, a vault supervisor at Loomis Fargo, is about to pull off one of the most audacious heists in American history. Working the night shift, surrounded by millions in cash day after day, the temptation became too much to resist. One October evening, Gant loaded an astounding $17.3 million in cash into a company van, simply drove out the gates, and vanished into the night. Talk about taking being your own boss to a whole new level. But here's where it gets interesting. He didn't act alone. With the help of his co-conspirators, including a former colleague he was romantically involved with, Gant fled to Mexico while his partner stayed behind to launder the money. Living on the run isn't as glamorous as the movies make it seem. While Gant was hiding out south of the border, his co-conspirators were living large back home, making ridiculous purchases that quickly caught the FBI's attention. The dream crumbled when authorities finally caught up with Gant in Mexico. But here's the kicker. To this day, most of that $17.3 million has never been found. Talk about a retirement plan gone wrong.